What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I've got a really important AMC update to bring all of you this afternoon. So we're going to be taking a look at the Ortex data. We're going to be taking a look at some institutional ownership percent changes. We're also going to be taking a brief look at the option chain. But from what I've seen out in the community today, especially in a bunch of different live chats, some comment sections, I'm seeing a lot of emotions flying high in the community. Now, we're going to go over what exactly is going on with AMC right now. I know a lot of people were really bullish on this week, expecting that massive price movement to the upside. And after yesterday, those hopes were still alive. But with the overall market right now and with what AMC has done today, sometimes those big price movements to the upside aren't possible right now. But that doesn't mean that over the next couple of weeks and months that those types of price movements to the upside are not possible. I do believe that we are in for some pretty significant price movements to the upside over the next couple of weeks and months. But I think when a lot of people really get their hopes up on something is going to happen tomorrow, today, something like that, and that keeps continuing, I think it really makes people emotionally tired a lot of the time. And I'm going to go over some of the key things that we need to see in order to give us a good understanding of when and how we are going to see those next big price movements to the upside. So before we get into all of that information, if you enjoy the information and analysis that I provide for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting that information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So when we're looking at the chart of AMC on a daily time frame, we can see that we had a very significant sell-off to the downside, but we are bouncing back up significantly right now. What this shows us, you can't hold AMC down forever. We've seen this many times. And what this tells us is that the apes are not leaving. We know that there are a lot of these institutional individuals who are watching the space calls, watching these videos. So to show them really where we're at, apes are not leaving. So make sure you guys drop something like that down in the comments to just show everybody how you are feeling after today. If you don't want to do that, don't. But I am really trying to get this information out to people to just show that the ape community is strong and we are not going anywhere. Now, when we come back out to the year-to-date time frame, we have seen significant sell-offs, much greater than what we've seen today in the past. Remember back in July and June when we saw after the big price run-up, we saw this consolidation period. We thought we were going to break up to the upside and break all-time highs, but then the shorts really piled in and knocked us back down from that $50 range into the 30s. We saw another run up into the 50s back in August and September and then got knocked right back down. One of the things that we need to see in order to put pressure on a lot of these short institutions, that is the one thing that a lot of people need to keep in mind. There needs to be some sort of pressure applied to these shorts in order for them to consider covering and closing out a portion or all of their short position. When we look at this chart here, when we ripped up to that mid $70 range back in June, and then we started to consolidate in the mid 50s, and then we broke down like we talked about before, most likely a lot of shorts were entering in around this range or adding to their short position. So what this means is that we would need to see some consolidation and a move to the upside where the buyers and sellers are willing to transact and we see that new equilibrium price in that $50 range. That is going to put a lot of pressure on these short institutions. Now, when we come over to the Ortex data over here, we're seeing utilization 76.46%, estimated short interest 15.14%. But again, we have to take this data with a grain of salt. If you were to just look at Ortex's estimates in terms of their short interest, you would think that the shorts were slowly covering their position, but the price action that we've been seeing doesn't reflect that at all. What we see on the exchange reported side is that according to all of these three past settlement dates, the shorts have been increasing their short position. So I believe tomorrow we are going to be getting that new exchange reported short interest. So it's possible, just like that time a couple of weeks ago where we were seeing an overestimation of the short interest that Ortex was giving us, that right now we could be seeing an underestimation. This data is not perfect and they are doing the best that they can, but that is one of the other things that we are fighting for, more transparency. Now, the second thing that we really need to think about in terms of what was happening in these previous price run-ups when we were seeing that significant price movement, and what really triggered that price movement? Well, we had that technical breakout, which we could consider that to be that $52 to $56 break that we need to see to put those pressure on the shorts. but we also saw a very, very crazy options chain. And when we come over to Stonko Tracker here and we look at this week, next week, the week after, and even the week after that, the next monthly options expiration date, we don't see anything that jumps out that says, yep, this could be a really, really crazy price movement to the upside. Now, do we need the option chain to have that run? Not necessarily, but it is very helpful in terms of putting that buying pressure back into the stock. But remember, June, we saw a very, very significant price run up to the upside into that $70 range, and we saw the craziest option chain that I have almost ever seen. Now, back in September, we also saw the option chain start to get a little crazy, and 2 weeks before that expiration date, we went from the $30 range into the 50s. Now, the next time that we see this option chain already start to freak out is January. So you can take that information with a grain of salt. This isn't a price point prediction or a date prediction when we're going to see the MOAS. I'm just looking at the data and comparing it to what we've seen in the past and what we could potentially see in the future. Could we go through that January expiration date and have nothing really happen? It's possible, but I do think that with the amount of contracts that are already in the money, we would see some significant price movement to the upside regardless, due to all of the contracts that could be exercised in the market makers hedging their position. Now, the other thing is, I know a lot of people are kind of worried today that we didn't see that price movement to the upside. We're sub 40 now, but when we take a look at institutional ownership percent changes, 235 institutions have bought AMC in the last 12 months, and only 59 have sold. Institutions are considered and widely accepted to be smart money, even though a lot of them are not acting like it right now. So when we see that these institutions are continuously piling into AMC, even when we see those massive price movements into the $70 range and then right back down to the 50s, and they're still buying and the buys are massively outweighing the sells, that is incredibly bullish, and they obviously see more upside past that $70 range. Now, this kind of brings us back to the concept of instant gratification. If we are not seeing what we want to see right now at this given time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is not going to happen in the near future or that it is not going to happen at all. I am still very, very bullish on what we have going forward with AMC, but when we look at these red days here, I don't know why a lot of these are phasing so many people so much at this point. I think for me personally, I'm very used to what we're seeing. I know a lot of people have a lot of money in this, and it doesn't feel good to see that number really come down on a day-to-day basis and fluctuate so much. But I want you guys to think about this one key important piece. If we were to have a 10% plus green day today, or if we were to see the price go to 60 to 65, would that really change anything in terms of your investment thesis? Would that cause you to sell? Or would that just get you more emotionally excited about what you're seeing? Now, emotions are really good, especially when we see the emotions really start to drive that FOMO buying. But when we see these red days, emotions are kind of our worst enemy. We do not really want to see any type of, I don't want to call it division, but people getting really outspokenly frustrated with what is going on, when in my mind, there's not really anything to be really all that frustrated about. Today, we're seeing the overall market have some volatility going into the holiday weekend, and AMC, very solid day yesterday. It's had some volatility over the last couple of weeks since its earnings call, but that doesn't necessarily change anything in terms of AMC's getting much better fundamentally as a business. And there's no real signs in terms of the price action and the exchange reported short interest data that these shorts have covered their position. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on in this update is a thing that I've kind of seen starting to pop up over the last couple of days, and this is the concept of buying AMC and honestly any other stock or equity on margin. Now, when we think about what margin is, it's essentially a loan from your broker that you're paying interest on in order to buy stocks. Now, what this allows you to do is lever up. So when your positions are going in your favor, it allows you to take your amount of money, use somebody else's money, combine that with yours, and increase your position size to increase your returns. But what you also have to think about is with that increased potential for return, there is going to be an increased amount of risk. If we see a lot of volatility on AMC going forward, it's possible that if you are trading on margin, you're going to continuously get margin called. And if that ends up happening and you get forcefully liquidated out of your position, remember, the broker is going to take away from your equity position first before they end up liquidating out of your position. So it's possible that if we see a lot of volatility going forward with AMC and you are holding your shares on margin, you could end up potentially with nothing. So I want everybody to be very, very careful. If you are an experienced investor and an experienced trader and you know what you're doing, by all means, do whatever you would like with your money. But if you are an inexperienced investor, you are starting to get into the market, I would take a second look if you are considering or already have your shares on margin. And when you think about what that means to have your shares on margin and what these brokers can actually do with that as well, they can loan your shares out too. So really the main point of this video is to try to go over exactly what in my mind we need to see in order to have those significant price movements to the upside. If we don't see those things, it doesn't mean that they aren't coming in the near future. We know that we could potentially see big price movements at any given time. We've seen it happen with AMC many, many times where all of a sudden we get some big green boom boom candles and we are off and running and we are all having a great time. But when we see these red days, I think a lot of people's perspective really does change. We've been at this for a while. A lot of people are getting a little bit antsy. It's getting towards the year. But the second thing you have to think about is that if you are coming up on holding AMC or GameStop or any of these other stocks for a year and a day, you are now going to be in that long-term capital gains territory where when you do end up selling your position, you're going to pay a significant portion less in taxes. So that is a little bit of a silver lining here. But again, nobody knows when this is really going to take off or happen. There are really, really solid theories out there as to potentially when and why we could potentially see the next price run-ups at any given times. But a lot of people, I think we need to keep our emotions in check and just kind of roll with what is going on. We can't manipulate the price to the upside in any given way because one, that's illegal, and two, it would be incredibly difficult to do on such a large company like AMC. But when we're looking at what's going on here, we really just need to get back to basics, figure out what we can do as a community to keep learning and keep fighting for those couple of goals that we have overall as a community, and those are waiting to see and figuring out what is going on with our markets, what is going on with AMC, and doing the due diligence on the company to see when and how we could see these potential massive price run-ups. And the second is to make our markets more free and more fair so that the generations that come after us do not have to deal with the type of BS manipulation, dark pool trading, latency arbitrage, duopoly of with market makers, payment for order flow that we all had to do. I think that is a very important thing that we are working on, and we are making significant progress, but we still have a long way to go. So that is going to wrap up this update on AMC. If you enjoyed the information and analysis that I provided for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. If you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.